You know, for as long as motorcycles have existed, they've had one fundamental, kind of unavoidable problem: gravity. But what if that problem could just go away? Today, we're diving into a machine that promises to do exactly that. This is the story of the Omo X.
I mean, just really think about that for a second. If you're a seasoned rider, you're thinking about those tricky low-speed turns or a patch of gravel. And if you're new to riding, well, that's often the single biggest fear, right? The thing that keeps people from ever even trying? That constant, delicate balancing act?
Well, the answer to that huge question might finally be here. But honestly, calling it just a motorcycle doesn't really do it justice. Its creators have a name for it that sounds like it's pulled straight out of a sci-fi movie.
That's right. The company is called Omo, and it was started by a team that really cut its teeth at the electric vehicle giant XPeng. And they're not just tweaking old designs, they're totally reframing the whole idea of a motorcycle. They call it a moto robot, a two-wheeled robot built for mobility and, get this, awareness.
In this quote right here, this just perfectly sums up their whole philosophy. They see this bike as a huge milestone in what's called embodied AI. That's where artificial intelligence jumps out of the computer and into the real world, actually interacting with it. So the million-dollar question is, how on earth do they do it?
All right, let's get into the core tech that makes this whole thing possible. How does a two-wheeled machine just stay perfectly upright, all by itself? Well, the answer comes from a place you probably wouldn't expect.
At the heart of it all is this: a control moment gyroscope, or CMG. So instead of you, the rider, constantly making those tiny little muscle adjustments to stay balanced, the CMG does all the heavy lifting. It spins a rotor and tilts it just so, creating this incredibly powerful stabilizing force.
Now, what's so cool about this is that it's not some brand new, unproven tech. It's just new to motorcycles. This is literally the same super precise, super reliable technology that space agencies use to keep satellites perfectly stable and pointed in the right direction while they're rocketing through space.
But you know, the gyroscope is really just the muscle. It works as part of a much bigger, smarter system. First, the Omo robot architecture uses vision sensors to sense the world around it. Then, its AI brain thinks, making decisions in just milliseconds. And finally, it acts, coordinating everything: the motor, the steering, the brakes, and of course that gyroscope, to respond instantly. It's this complete system that goes from just passive safety to active, predictive control.
But keeping the bike upright is, believe it or not, just the beginning. The Omo X is absolutely packed with other features that push it way beyond your average scooter or motorcycle. Let's see what else this thing can do.
For ages, riders have had to make a choice, right? You either get the super easy step-through convenience of a city scooter, or you get the more stable, engaged feel of a traditional motorcycle frame that you can grip with your knees.
The Omo X just looks at that choice and says, why not both? It's got this really clever modular design. You can pop on some body panels, and it transforms from a practical city scooter into a full-on motorcycle that's ready for a road trip, with mounts for luggage and everything. It's a true shapeshifter.
And the tech just keeps on coming. It has a Halo Pilot Suite, which is just a fancy name for a bunch of features you'd normally only see on a luxury car. I'm talking adaptive cruise control that handles stop-and-go traffic for you, blind spot monitoring, and it can even park itself or be summoned to you with a remote. This isn't just a bike, it's a legit smart vehicle.
And of course, you can't ignore the way this thing looks. It is pure cyberpunk. The design is all these sharp, angular lines. It's got this totally unique, futuristic vibe that has already won a 2026 IF Design Award before it's even launched.
Okay, so let's get to the question you're all probably thinking. Aerospace-grade gyros, a full AI suite, this thing must cost as much as a small car, right? Well, get this. The projected price is around $3,800 US.
And just to put that number in perspective for you, a competitor like the BMW CE04, which has that same futuristic look but none of the self-balancing magic, starts at over $12,000. Yeah, suddenly the Omo X looks like an incredible deal.
So, we've got a self-balancing, transforming, surprisingly affordable electric motorcycle that's about to hit the market. Let's zoom out for a second and look at why this is a potential game changer for how we get around.
The impact here really boils down to three things. First, safety. These active systems could bring a whole new level of protection to riders. Second, accessibility. By just taking the whole balancing act out of the equation, it opens up riding to a ton of new people who might have been too intimidated before. And third, it's another big push away from gas engines and towards cleaner, smarter electric transportation.
You know, Omo's strategy here is actually really smart. They're not trying to launch everywhere at once. They picked Indonesia, one of the biggest motorcycle markets in the entire world, as their global launch pad. And they're going all in, building a local supply chain, planning local assembly, and they've already signed up dozens of dealers.
And listen, this isn't some far-off dream. The timeline is set. Mass production is scheduled to kick off in March of 2026, pre-orders in Indonesia open a month later, and then the official launch hits Jakarta in late May. This is happening, and it's happening soon.
So, with production right around the corner, we really have to consider what this means for the future of riding.
Think about it. Major brands like Honda and Yamaha have shown off self-balancing concepts for years, but they always stayed as just that, cool tech demos. The Omo X is the first one that's actually crossing the line from a neat science project to a real vehicle that people can actually go out and buy.
Which brings us to our final question. If a vehicle can see the world around it, make its own decisions to keep you safe, and handle the hardest parts of riding all by itself, is it still just a motorcycle? Or is the Moto Robot truly the next step in the evolution of how we get from point A to point B?
Something to think about for sure. Thanks for joining this explainer. We're going to be keeping a very close eye on this one to see if it really does change the game.